보안점검다.
Okay, welcome everybody. Today is gonna be quite an interesting one. Well, not that interesting, so don't get your hopes up. But we got a video that we want to react to finally from a channel that we are unfamiliar with. So let me see this. This is from Rathael. So I don't know if you guys have heard of them. This is my first time seeing their channel. The reaction video is titled "Should Archons Always Be the Strongest of the Elements?" So if you guys haven't seen it, we'll go through it a little later. We're also scheduled for an account review for our moderator, but I don't know if she's here yet. So we'll see how that goes. If she's here, we're gonna, of course, do her review. But if she's not here, then we'll see. Maybe it won't happen. How have you guys been? For me, it's been a while since I logged back into Genshin again. I don't really log in when the patches have nothing to offer because, like, get this, if you don't log in, it actually rewards you. it incentivizes you not to log in because of the the stellar reunion. So it's always good if you're not going to play the game, if you don't find it fun, just don't log in. Like when you come back, it's free primo gems, like 1 2 3 4, right? Like 400 primo gems just like that for free. Where are you gonna go to get this kind of value? And plus like a bunch of other stuff here as well. So this is what I always tell people, like sometimes don't play the game not just because you don't enjoy it, but because like you're gonna get the freebie rewards. Like if you really feel too lazy to do it yourself, don't play it and get the rewards for when you come back. Dragon says, oh, watch that earlier. Yeah, so somebody sent that to me in Discord and said I should really check it out. So yeah, like I'd be more than happy to look at it. Like I said, this is the first time I've ever seen the channel Rathael. So actually really interested because from the look of it, it seems like this is also another discussion channels. I really enjoyed discussion channels more so than like commentary channels, basically more so than like meta stuff like that. I don't know, like meta is too set in stone. Like there's no conversation to be had. It's like sitting in a lecture, right? It's either you're right or you're wrong, whereas stuff like this that's more speculative is a lot more dynamic, and I have a lot more fun watching it. And I think for people to have conversations, this is more fun. This is kind of the stuff you get drunk, or you a Friday afternoon you have a pizza party and then you start talking about like philosophy, you know, like stuff like that. I don't know if you guys do that kind of stuff. Just talk about random things that have no real meaning, but you kind of just go off on a tangent and you talk with your friends. You both are laying on the couch and you're just going back and forth and talking about speculatives and stuff like that. I love that about like everything. I think Genshin Impact could use more of that. There's a lot of people in the Genshin Impact community who is just like die-hard meta players. If you don't talk about meta, they're like, don't waste my time, which I respect. You know, if if you're gonna play a game or if you're gonna enjoy something, you just want to min-max the most out of what it has to offer. I don't want to waste time doing like nothing, basically. Like it's to them talking about speculatives, like should Archons always be better, or talking about things that don't matter or don't exist yet, that are not based in concrete hard facts. To them it's like watching paint dry. It's the exact same thing, and they hate it. They absolutely despise wasting time in that manner because they think that's just wasting time. But like, what the hell am I really doing here, right? So I respect that, but to me it's like a lot of these sort of conversations opens you up to new exchanges, possibilities, conversations that otherwise you would have just never had. It's about experiencing things at the end of the day. Like, I paid this much money to play Genshin Impact. I'm gonna get my literal every cent value's worth. So for me, sitting here talking, rambling about this kind of stuff is getting my money's worth, because I've built my knowledge, I've met people in this community which connected me to other people. Very interesting, very exciting stuff. So I guess we'll just start with the reaction, because I think this is interesting conversations to have, and we can bounce off of this and start talking and see if Moonlight pops in, and then we can see if we can get her account review. But again, I haven't played this game for like 2 patches. Like, this is the 2nd patch in a row that I'm basically not playing. But so I don't really know much about like what's currently meta and not, but general account direction would be interesting to look at. If not, maybe it's a learning experience. So let's take a look at this.
Archons be the strongest representation of the respect?
Okay.
Should Archons be the strongest representation of the respective elements?
Oh my
At
God,
some point,
the
each of the
text.
Archons did have their moments of being the most powerful of their elements, and I think for 3 out of 4 of them, it's still true. Okay, it's maybe debatable for another one of them, but I'll get into that one a little bit later.
Who is he referring to? Excuse me? Let's just wind that back. Was there some shade thrown at somebody?
Being the most powerful of their elements, and I think for 3 out of 4 of them, it's still true. Okay,
buddy, we don't need this kind of toxicity right around here, as most people would say. Like, what do you mean all Archons are broken? They're all the best of their elements, right? Let's just like list them out. Zhongli, Geo, like arguably one of the best Geo characters. Raiden Shogun, like arguably one of the best Electro characters. Nahida, hands down, the best Dendro character. And the Kazuha, like there's no denying that Kazuha is the best Anemo character. So all the Archons are the best in their category. What do you mean? Like, who's he throwing shade at? Let's continue.
It's maybe debatable for another one of them, but I'll get into that one a little bit later.
Okay,
it goes without saying that you don't need to be the strongest at every single role at once to be considered the strongest character. After all, Kazuha doesn't need to do more animo damage than Xiao to be considered a better character. I imagine a lot of you lore fiends out there, you really want the Archons to be stronger than everyone else, because why shouldn't they be? They're gods. Why would it make any sense for when we finally get to the land of Pyro, for the Pyro Archon to be weaker than little old Benny Boy, the terminally unlucky teenage boy who just has a vision? But it's also equally hard to imagine a world where Bennett's support capabilities are just absolutely destroyed by the Pyro Archon. And you could really say the same for a DPS unit like Hu Tao. Archons that are released nowadays have way more characters to compete with than the early Archons did. So while they may have been very strong at the release, newer ones will have a harder time surpassing existing characters. So let's take a look at each Archon at the release and a little bit after and see how they held up. When Venti was released, he only had 3 units for competition. Jean is a little bit of a jack of all trades with CC, healing, DPS, but that's the problem. Back then, the big draw to Animo was the CC, and Jean's C1, it just does not cut it. If you're unironically using Jean for her CC capabilities, I sincerely hope that you have better days ahead of you. Yeah, you can throw them up in the air, make them take some fall damage. That's a fun little gimmick, but its usefulness is really low. It's really only when you're so under geared.
It's very difficult making these type of videos because the counter argument to whatever he's saying, like no matter what he's saying, no matter how like legit whatever he's saying is, people find it like, oh, I can refute whatever you're saying by simply saying like, well, I make Jean CC work, so you know, like that's the argument. That's the only counter argument most people have. Like, oh, but you know, I find Jean CC to be really good, and I make it work. I 36 star the Abyss with Jean, mainly using her as a CC bot, right? Like, and then they're like, so I think her CC is perfect. Like, what do you mean? Jean CC is enough. Like, Jean CC is like the threshold. It's like the baseline where we measure good CC. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, man. My Jean is eating well.
That falling damage can actually out DPS you. Moving on to Sucrose. Now, for those of you who know the history of the game and what the game was like at 1.0, whether or not you played or maybe watched videos of people talking about it, you probably know that people's opinions of characters were really, really bad. Bennett was considered F, a lot of people put Chi-Chi in S tier, and Sucrose was very underestimated. Many people didn't put too much value or didn't even notice the damage increase in capabilities that Sucrose had. What really mattered was their CC capabilities, because back in 1.0, pretty much every enemy in the game except a Ruin Guard could be sucked in by Venti's Tornado. On top of that, for 1.0 standards, Venti was actually doing pretty respectable personal damage. A lot of people were building him for actual raw damage because Swirl hadn't been buffed yet. So you have this character that has unrivaled CC capabilities and pretty decent personal damage, as well as having an ability that can be used in overworld exploration to quite a good effect. I mean, I could talk about Traveler, but do I really need to defend why an Archon is better than the Traveler? Venti was definitely one of the best Animo characters in the game up until Kazuha's release. Some might have tried to make a case for Sucrose, saying that she can provide more damage than Venti can, and in situations where his CC isn't that valuable, Sucrose absolutely would have been favored. So does Venti qualify for being called the strongest Animo character on his release? Yes, I do believe so.
You know what's crazy? What's really crazy about this is that since Kazuha's release, both Venti and Sucrose, like even in the West, so for whatever I can find in the West as well, like people prefer Kazuha over Sucrose and Venti. And like what I really am curious about is if all three can get the job done equally well, as so many people claim. And like, I'm not making straw man arguments here. Like, so many people, I bet in chat right now there would be people saying like, yeah, but you can do it with Venti, you can do it with Sucrose, you can 36 clear with all 3 of these characters. Then why such a skewed data? Like, why people would prefer Kazuha so many more times than Venti and Sucrose if all three can get the job done equally well as people would claim, right? Like, this is what I've never understood. Or are these people just choosing to ignore, or are these people ignoring something here that and making claims? So while I get that the entire meta has shifted since 1.6, and it's never really gone back if you guys really take a magnifying glass and look at it from 2.0 all the way until now. Like, all these patches, it's never really gone back to pre-Kazuha meta. I'm just gonna call it the pre-Kazuha meta, where huge CC is like the name of the game, right? Because maybe it was just too simple. It was too easy to counter what Hoyoverse could throw at us. So they're making the game more difficult by making it like, basically they're making Spiral Abyss kind of like a puzzle, and you gotta fit the pieces here and there to make sure that you can solve the puzzle. And it's too easy if you just give like a Venti piece and then just slap it in there and the whole puzzle is solved, right? So, but yet till this day, people still claim that Venti 36 Star the Abyss is just as easy, if not easier, than Kazuha. They're saying Venti is fine right now, even in the current meta. Sucrose is fine, and in some cases better than Venti. And all three, Kazuha, Venti, and Sucrose, are always interchangeable, and they outperform each other consistently, right? Like, so after reading some of these claims, I'm really curious where they're getting these statistics from. Or are they speaking from personal experience? Because no matter where I look, no matter who I speak to, it seems like Kazuha is just one above all. Like, Kazuha is just way up there, while Venti and Sucrose have niche uses. But whenever we try to have this discussion in the comment section of some of my videos, these people are just like, nah bro, you're tripping. And then there's droves of them who believe that Venti, Sucrose, and Kazuha sit in S tier equally. They're like side by side, and you interchange them as you see fit, which I honestly don't understand. Like, I really don't.
For 6 versions anyway. What about Zhongli? Zhongli is an interesting one because, one, he's one of the only characters in Genshin's history to receive a buff during the live version of the game. Those buffs were also pretty significant. They took him from being a pretty underwhelming character in most people's eyes to being one of the most widely used characters even to this day. And at his release, he didn't exactly have much competition. He had Noelle, Ningguang, and GOMC. Noelle may be a respectable sleeper damage dealer nowadays, but that's mostly thanks to Husk and the Redhorn Stone Thresher, which at the release of Zhongli didn't exist yet. At this point, Noelle was a really below average DPS with very, very bad supportive capabilities. She can't support the best due to her very long cooldown shield with very poor uptime. That can be counteracted with field time, but that's the problem. It takes field time. Ningguang isn't a support, but she's also not the best DPS either. She can do well enough, but she's not near on the power level of Zhongli. And GOMC, well, once again, it's a traveler. You can't really expect much from them, but GOMC can, they can support, they can give you a crit rate buff, and they can do some modest damage with their rocks. And as far as characters we have now, well, we all know that not many Geo characters have been released since then. Even just comparing him to non-Geo shielders, his shield is still so far above and beyond everybody else. Part of that is thanks to the Geo element. It's just generally good against every element opposed to every other element only being good against themselves. So was Zhongli the best Geo unit? Absolutely. And is he still the best? I think so. Now here's a tough one. Raiden Shogun. On her release, everybody was blown away by how strong she was. She quickly shot up to the best-selling unit in the entire game at the time. Those sales are also still high to this day, and 2 of the banners that above her are double banners with her on them. Now Raiden had a lot more competition than the 2 Archons that came before her. She had 7 Electro units to compete with if we count Kujo Sara, who released alongside her. I'm not going to go over all 7 because that's too time-consuming, but I'll say this. Raiden did something the other two Archons didn't really do. Actual, meaningful damage, and quite a fuckload of it. Whether you got those powerful early constellations or not, Raiden is going to do a considerable amount of damage. And even if you ignore those, she still has immense supportive capabilities with applying some of the easiest, actually not some of the, literally the easiest off-field electro you can ask for, on top of being a very potent energy battery. And while she may not have exactly stepped on the toes of supportive units such as Fischl and Beidou, she did dominate the electro category up until Dendro's release. And even after Dendro was released, Raiden still proved to be a very strong unit. When you have an ability that can apply electro off-field just for applying damage with literally any ability, of course she's going to get some use. After all, that's all Hyper Bloom wants you to do, and while many people may consider it blasphemous to build your Raiden Shogun with nothing but elemental mastery and use her as a skill bot, it doesn't make it any less valid to actually use it as a playstyle. Raiden absolutely carried the electro element before Dendro ever hit the scene. Even after Dendro, she still proved to be a very strong unit in literally any role you put her in, and while many people may prefer a unit like Kuk.
I also remember when I mentioned that Electro was in such a sorry state before Dendro came out. It was also a very difficult conversation to have, but I can understand why people thought that Electro was fine because of Raiden Shogun, right? So like he was saying, Raiden Shogun was the pillar for Electro prior to Dendro's release, and she basically took us in a direction where, okay, you look at the potential of Electro, but what made Raiden really broken was her supportive capabilities by being a universal battery in the international team. That was basically her gimmick, right? And C2 Raiden Hypercarry, that's a whale thing. Let's not talk about that. But like Raiden Shogun pre-Dendro, to be completely honest with you, she had like one support DPS support role. Like she's like a support DPS at C0. She basically interchanges with other DPSs on the field and while supercharging them, and then clears all content with mixed elemental damage as well as I guess you could say burst damage on her part from her burst skill, right? So like it wasn't amazing burst damage by comparison to some of the other burst DPS we had in the game, but it was good enough on top of her universal battery gimmick. So people thought like, well, you see, Raiden Shogun is good, right? Like it's amazing, S tier. So Electro was fine. Like you don't need to do anything with Electro anymore. Like just leave Electro as is because we have Raiden. And in my opinion, that was a very short-sighted way to look about things. Like those people have since vanished. Like I cannot find those comments. People would never argue that post Dendro because they don't see the potential of how much better life can be with a little bit of tuning. I'm not going to say Dendro completely changed Electro. While it gave us a new way of playing Electro, okay, yeah, maybe Dendro completely changed Electro. But I just want to highlight that we shouldn't be so fast to deny change when it's beneficial for everyone. That the changes could make life just so much easier for so many people, both whales, spenders, as well as low spenders, as well as free to plays all across the board. More options, more synergies. We shouldn't be against these kind of changes, right? So don't be a clown now and say Geo is fine, right? Like there's people who are saying Geo is fine. I've even seen people say physical is fine because Eula is still OP as hell, right? Like this is straight up delusion, I'm telling you guys. Like these people are so desperate to lick the boot of the Tsaritsa, they've basically given themselves like permanent brain damage at this point. Like they're arguing points that benefit nobody, including themselves. They're saying leave Geo as it is, leave physical as it is. They're both fine. Like nothing needs to be changed. But like on what planet, what reality would you have to live in to actively look at this from an objective standpoint and say both of these elements, well, not element, but the geo element and the physical damage meta are fine and don't need any adjustment? Anyways, that's a little off topic. Let's continue.
For her ability to apply easy off-field electro on top of heal, it doesn't make Raiden any less of a good choice. She just may not always fit into every team that Kuki does, because Kuki is sometimes filling that vital healing role that Raiden just cannot. But the thing is Raiden can always go back to just whacking things with her ridiculous burst damage. Even if you don't have the C2, it's still gonna hit pretty damn hard. One thing we can say for certain is that Raiden was definitely the strongest electro unit on her release. She passes that check, but nowadays I don't think anyone would ever give you a weird look if you came into a conversation of who is the best modern electro unit and you brought Raiden Shogun to the table. Some people might try to jump down your throat and say that she fell off or she's not as good as she once was, and those two statements could probably be considered true. And even though it may not necessarily be my opinion, I still think Raiden could be considered the best electro unit. Now let's move on to probably the most controversial one, Nahida. Nahida actually gets a lot of heat and negative attention for just how strong she is. Many out there even believe that Nahida's mere existence actually invalidates and hurts the viability of other Dendro supports that we had. Cole and Dendro main character were both very popular until Nahida hit the scene. This leads.
And why are we comparing like a limited character to a free 4-star character and the literal most free-to-play character there is in the game? Like, it's like comparing Elon Musk to like a white-collar worker at like some office building, being like, wow, I wonder whose net worth is worth more, Jonathan, who works in HR, right, on the 27th floor, or Elon Musk. Like, why compare these two? Like, there's no comparison. Why don't you compare Elon Musk to Jeff Bezos, right? Why don't you compare Jonathan to his coworker Samantha? Why we gotta be comparing two existences that are completely non-relevant and that should be looked at in completely different scales? It doesn't make any sense.
Leaves some people out there with the belief that making Nahida as strong as she is was actually a mistake. I mean, after all, she's flexible, she's relatively cheap to build, all things considered, and she works in basically every single team where Dendro is desired. On top of that, she also got the Raiden treatment with having an excellent C2. However, unlike Raiden, she's not also an amazing DPS, so she at least has that one limitation, and a unit like Alhaitham still has room to shine within Dendro. As for Nahida's release, well, she beat Alhaitham to the punch, so she was definitely the strongest Dendro unit on release. By far. Nobody's gonna contest that one. That's actually not true. There's going to be a Cole mega fan in the comments writing like a 6,000 word essay on why Cole is better than all the other Dendro units. Even in a post-Alhaitham world, I think it's still reasonable to say that Nahida is a better unit. After all, in Genshin Impact, supports reign supreme. The DPS, they are nothing but the overpowered supports that, well, support them. Which brings us to the Archon that we don't yet have, the Hydro Archon. We're going there very, very soon with Fontaine, which is why I think this conversation or topic is so interesting.
Hydro is going to be the most difficult Archon to achieve like unanimous votes of greatness. Okay? I'm sure I don't need to be the one to tell you guys that, but holy smokes, what can they possibly do with what's her name again? Folklores, for her to feel as influential as some of the other Archons in respect to their elements? How? Like, she's gonna usurp Yelan in general usefulness, gonna feel better than Kokomi. Like, this is what's crazy. She's gotta feel better than Kokomi, Yelan, Xingqiu, right? Tartaglia. Just overall, she needs to beat out all these characters in terms of general usefulness. That's crazy to even think about.
Right now, more than ever. When we went into Inazuma, Electra was arguably in a very miserable state overall, so it wasn't hard for Raiden to come in and be the best. When Zhongli released, Gia was in a really bad state, and if you removed Zhongli from the picture, it probably would still be in a bad state. Venti released with little competition, but Sucrose was a powerful contender, but when it comes to CC, Venti is just king. But here's the thing about the Hydro Archon. The Hydro element right now is so goddamn stacked that I really have a hard time imagining that the same thing that happened for the 4 previous Archons is going to happen to the Hydro element. I mean, like, how goddamn overpowered would the Hydro Archon have to be to make units like Xingqiu and Yelan look bad in comparison? These are both supports that absolutely dominate in both Hydro application and actual damage. While Yelan may eclipse Xingqiu's damage, that doesn't make Xingqiu's damage any less significant. He does a lot of damage for a support. If we want to factor in constellations, Yelan is even the closest thing we have to a Bennett for HP users, with their C4 giving everyone basically another HP artifact. We even have very good Hydro DPS with Ayato and Child. And yes, Child haters, you need to suck it up. Child's a good character. You're just not good at Child. Now, to end up being a DPS that ends up being better than Child or Ayato is a lot less ridiculous and more reasonable.
On a side note, I always avoid using the word child to describe Tartaglia for people who are new to my stream or content, who just got into Genshin. They might mistake what I'm saying as something completely sacrilegious and end up reporting my fucking entire channel. It's just too easy to get this whole thing like confused. Like, for example, like I love child. That like, to a Genshin player, that sounds very normal, but like if you come in here and you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, you're gonna be like, excuse me? Right, Tartaglia, right? Let's just, come on, Tartaglia, say it with me, Tartaglia. Let's, maybe at a Genshin convention, I'll be comfortable using the term child, but never in a generalized like public YouTube video. Goddamn, that's just crazy.
To believe, then ending up being a better support than Yelan and Xingqiu. I just think it unlikely because Archons typically have supportive kits, even if that supportive kit can absolutely kick ass like Raiden Shogun can. The question is though, is it healthy for the game if we get a Hydro Archon who's a support that is better than supports we have like Xingqiu and Yelan? Because they are so strong. We're talking about like top 10 units for an element that has been established. When Nahida came in and became the strongest Dendro, it was hardly a surprise. We had barely any units at the time, and it's a brand new element. You got to make things exciting to actually sell the element to people. But Hydro is a very known quantity. On top of that, it's part of what is making Dendro so strong. Even before Dendro ever hit the scene, Hydro was part of Vaporize, which was widely considered to be some of the best teams we had. Which is one of the reasons why when I think should an Archon be stronger than regular characters of the element, Hydro and Pyro were two that always stood out. And now that we're rapidly approaching the Hydro Archon, we're finally going to see what that looks like. I was already pretty impressed with how they handled Dendro. I was always wondering, you know, if Dendro comes out and it buffs Electro and it makes Electro super strong, well, like if it makes Kaching that much better, then how much stronger is Raiden going to be? But they managed to make a creative solution that didn't make Raiden more powerful, but helped all the other units. So I just gotta wonder, is it even possible to do that with Hydro? Is it possible to make a Hydro Archon support that is considered the best unit in the game, but somehow isn't also stepping on the toes of units like Xingqiu and Yelan? I mentioned that Yelan C4 is basically the only version of like Bennett or Goro for HP units. We don't have many units that can party-wide buff HP scalers. So is it possible that the Hydro Archon, given how Hydro has an affinity for being HP scaling or having some kind of HP element, is it possible that she is going to be the Goro or Bennett for HP? And if so, is that making her a little too niche? Is that really going to just make her less exciting as an Archon release? Given that if you don't use any HP scaling characters predominantly, like you're probably just not going to want her. I would love to know your guys' opinions on this. Do you believe that Archons should always be stronger than regular people? Or, you know, at least for a little bit like Venti was? Or do you think for the sake of game balance that they just shouldn't worry about it for these later Archons because there's so many units to contend with that if you try to go too crazy with it, it might be a little power creepy. You might end up with a Raiden situation where people just feel like they're being baited into buying a really overpowered character. Regardless, I am extremely excited for the Hydro Archon. I can't wait to see her kit. Archons are always an exciting time, and the Hydro Archon is probably my most anticipated one. I'm really hoping that she does end up being the ultimate HP scaler or the ultimate HP scaling buff character. Just something to do with HP. I mean, that's what the whole element has been going towards, right? So, you know, why not go all in? So thank you to my members and my patrons. Thank you to you for...
Like, okay, I get what he's saying, but we have to break this conversation down into components because this is way too much to talk about in one sitting about everything, right? But let's just talk about Archons. Let's just hyper focus on Archons for now. Most, like, one point he mentioned that is true, and likely this pattern will continue, is that Archons tend to lean more towards supportive capabilities. What the hell is going on with this strand of hair? I'm just like... Archons tend to lean more towards being general supports. Now, one of the main reasons that is because making a character in a supportive category, especially an Archon that they can lean more towards a very niche supportive style, is very difficult, if never near impossible to power creep, right? Think about it like this. If you design an Archon as a damage dealer, they are going to have to become like the new threshold. They're going to have to be drawing an entire new, what's that word called? Baseline for strength, right? So let's say if Zhongli was a DPS, Venti was a DPS, Raiden is a DPS, Folklore is a DPS. Imagine if a scenario where all the Archons were DPSs. It's very difficult to not power creep the previous Archon and still keep them very interesting, because if everybody thinks, oh, the Archon's gonna do damage, they're gonna do damage, then they come in and then be like, oh, but this Nahida does the same damage as Raiden Shogun, just green. Like, imagine if that were the scenario. It's not as fun. Yes, people will still likely pull on them. People will still be super excited for them, but you're not gonna have longevity with these characters. They're like, because they're just all the same. Then you give people like Dawei would shudder. Dawei would shudder at me uttering this word. Options. Oh, giving our player base options. No, we must guilt trip them. We must FOMO them into pulling every one of our Archons. And that is what they've done. They've made it like each Archon so unique and irrelevant to like direct DPS, right? Yes, their end goal is to facilitate the environment to do DPS, but they are pretty much the only ones. I mean, not the only ones, but they are like the best options in their niche category for this type of role in your team comps. So that leads me back to the conversation, right? To the beginning point is, this is why Archons can only be supportive characters. Because if they were DPS characters, if they don't power creep each other, then they're just not going to be as exciting, and I guarantee you they're not going to sell as well. Especially like maybe the new ones will sell and then the old ones die. So a good example is, look at Honkai Impact 3rd. The what's that system called? Hershers, right? They have the Hershers, and each new Hersher came out was a better Hersher than the previous. I remember I played it during the time when the Flame Hersher just came out, and she pretty much became the go-to unit to pull. Like, Hersher is basically Archon in that game. So she became the #1 unit to pull. Everybody was waiting for her rerun. Yes, she's selling extremely well, but then with her release came essentially the death of all the previous Hershers. All the previous Archons in that game basically just became irrelevant, right? So HoYoverse is very careful because they don't want to ever make a system where they lean towards power creep. Musashi Miyamoto says Honkai Impact has power creep built into the end game. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. HoYoverse built themselves into power creep with that. When you make the best category of characters in your game about DPS, and then you realize, oh my god, if we don't make the next character a better DPS, then this character is not going to sell as well, right? Then they make the active decision to make them into a better DPS and kill the previous iterations. Isn't it a perfect scenario where if you can make a character and have them sell for like 10 years? Just think about it. Like, imagine 5, 6, 7 years more into Genshin Impact, and a Kazuha is still one of the best buffers in the game. Like, maybe it's not going to be true. Maybe it's wishful thinking. In fact, I don't think it's ever been done in a gacha game where like a character can stay perfectly relevant in S tier from the first day they come out all the way till like they close the servers. I don't think it's ever been done before. But that's what HoYoverse is trying to achieve. HoYoverse wants to make it that whenever a Kazuha rerun comes around, people will want to pull him. And it's the same thing with the Archons. And how do they solve this problem? Well, how are we going to make sure that our Archons are going to be high in value years after their release? Make them into niche supports. So, should Archons always be the strongest of their element? I think that like how it would be how you define strongest. If you're talking about damage, I don't think so. But if you're talking about general usefulness and their niche, like a certain niche in the element, right? Maybe the core identity of the element, I do agree with that. I think Archons should be like the pinnacle of their element's niche. For example, Geo is like a defensive element. I mean, you're free to argue otherwise, but in my opinion, Geo is a defensive argument. I mean, Geo is a defensive element, and that's why their Archon is like the best in terms of defensive capabilities. Like right now, bar none, Zhongli is still the best. And then when it comes to Electro's identity was always awkward, but it seemed like HoYoverse wanted to make Electro about, you know, particle generation or just universal battery, right? Now, this is irrelevant to DPS. Like, let's just completely forget about DPS. But look at each element. An Anemo, HoYoverse's definition of Anemo was CC. At least in the very beginning, it was, right? When they thought about Anemo, it was like, okay, Anemo is all about crowd control. So they made the Archon the best crowd control in the game. Till this day, Venti is still the best crowd control unit in the game. It's just that crowd control is less important now, right? We can all agree on that. It's not as important as it used to be. There's a shift in focus. So that's what led to Venti's, I'm not going to say demise, but like that's led to his downfall, right? People just don't use him as much because his niche is not required nearly as much during modern Genshin Impact. You know, it's quite normal, right? You can't say everybody has, like, everybody's always sitting on top. Like, not realistic. However, then it begs the question: how long is Kazuha going to continue sitting on top? Like, why is it not okay for Venti to sit on top, but it's okay for Kazuha to do so? Excuse me? You heard me. That's why I made videos talking about this. It was never about one character sitting at the top. It was always about how this one character trivialized the content. Okay? They're totally fine with Kazuha sitting on top, as long as Kazuha cannot single-handedly clear all the content by himself. Sure, you can have Kazuha. He helps with clearing the content, but you also need, I don't know, like elemental damage, right? You also need elemental carries. You also need like other support DPSs. It takes 4 to make a team, but Venti was pretty much the team, if that makes sense. So that's why Venti had to be removed. And you know they regretted that. You know for a fact that they regretted doing what they did and designing Venti to be what he was. Like, do you guys honestly think with the current game design knowledge and experience, they would have designed Venti the same? Absolutely not. It was a mistake, and I don't know how long I gotta keep saying this for everybody to get the memo. Is that HoYoverse was making a new game with like very little experience. Like prior to Genshin Impact, HoYoverse as a company, which they were branded as MiHoYo back in the day. When they first came out with Genshin Impact, they had like what, 2 games under their belt, 3 including Dawei's like side passion project that he worked on by himself. They were very like, that's where the whole like small indie company meme came from. Because that's what they truly were. They were a small-ish company with big ambitions to make something that the world has never seen before. And you cannot fault them for making a character like Venti. Like, by the books, Venti was a great character. Like, he was the first character to ever be released in this game, and he was a great character, right? But fast forward to now, you see the mistakes they've made with Venti. And of course, back in the 1.0 era, I don't know if their team was just too small. They couldn't figure out an answer. They couldn't. They had no answer for it. They were like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to make Venti? How are we going to make Venti not so dominating in Spiral Abyss? They tried. They did. They tried multiple iterations. It just didn't work. They tried a lot of things with the mobs they had at the time and with different Abyss mechanics. They tried for multiple patches. They couldn't do anything. Venti was still like 90% usage rate. And it wasn't the fact that Venti was 90% that bothered them. It was Venti was 90%, by clicking one button to beat everything, right? How could they farm player hours if you were pressing one button to beat every bit of content they can possibly throw at you? That's why Venti isn't on the top anymore. It's not because he was 90%. It was how he was 90%, right? How he was getting to that usage rate mattered more so than why he was there. So I hope you guys understand that. So fast forward to this, like, should Archon always be the strongest? Yes, in their respective niches they should be, but they shouldn't always be the strongest characters. Example, Venti, right? Even in the Nemo category nowadays, Venti is not the strongest character, and I think that's okay, even though it was built off of a mistake on Hoyover's part, but that is okay. I'm completely fine with, in the future, Raiden Shogun not being like the most utilized Electro unit. However, as long as we talk about a universal battery niche, Raiden should always be the best option. It's just how important is that niche in the current meta? Metas are going to come and go. If Raiden is not the meta, somebody else is going to be the meta, right? Which people are super against power creep because it makes their old characters like not as good. But they're completely okay with what Hoyoverse is doing because it gives them copium belief that one day the characters that are now irrelevant will become relevant again. You see how delusional that is? For the people who are saying like, oh, like, it's not power creep though, it doesn't, like it's straight up delusion. Like, people are still sitting on the sideline thinking that Venti is gonna somehow creep back into the meta and dethrone Kazuha and become the number one used character in the game. It's power creep. It is power creep. Like, what if you want to define power creep? You can define it with its raw definition, or you can define it with the effects it has on the game state. And right now, what happened to Venti is like the literal definition of what power creep does to a character. It trivializes their existence. So, yeah, Anemo has a new Archon. Darth Goon says Venti has his niche. He is very useful, much more useful than Kazuha in 12.1, for example, where there's a crazy amount of mobs. I agree with you. When Venti's niche comes up, nobody can compete with him. It's just that overall, you're basically at the mercy of Hoyoverse, right? When you can use that niche, they decide when Venti could be used and when Venti cannot be used. Which, I mean, they're the developers; it's to their choice. But to give the illusion that, oh, we're not gonna buff or nerf characters, but we're gonna change the state of the game to favor characters, it is like one hell of an illusion. You guys got to give him that. Like, how many of you guys gives Mihoyo a pat on the back every once in a while, be like, oh, thank you for not like nerfing characters and like changing the meta, so we have to pull new characters, and then they turn around and completely like face swap the Abyss into something unrecognizable. Like, I understand there's no way they can make a game where they don't buff or nerf the characters, where they don't make adjustment to the metas like on their end, and then still have the game be progressive and engaging, right? I understand that. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like, why are you, but my point is, let's not lie to ourselves in thinking that just because they don't change the numbers of our characters and their kits, like, do they not influence what characters are good, what characters are not good? They very easily manipulate this still, and they favor certain banners, characters in certain time frames. So that's why like a lot of people got tired of talking about meta, because it doesn't really matter, right? It literally doesn't matter. Just poll for who you like. That's where this also comes from. Poll for who you like, right? How many times have you guys heard that? It's a very lazy answer to most people's question. I also have to throw that out there. It's a very lazy answer because sometimes people are asking for real advice. For example, they love both of these characters, right? They love Klee, they love Eula. They love them both dearly. Who should they pick? right? And then those people will come back like, who do you like more? Who do you like more? It's like, I can't decide. I can't decide. Well, just pull for the one who you like the most. It's like, okay. Okay, buddy. It is like you're not really answering the question, right? You're not really answering the question. So it's just there's two sides to a coin. I do agree with leaning towards the character that you find more enticing, more fun, right? As long as that character is not so far outside the meta, that's gonna take you like so much more effort to build. For example, if you're a newer player right now and you have the choice in pulling for the Hydro Archon, or let's not say the Hydro Archon because the Hydro Archon's not out yet, so we don't know. This statement might not work. If you have the option to pull for, let's say, someone like Nahida or someone like Yelan, right, or someone like a Hatham, Nilu, versus someone like Klee, and you're saying like, oh, Walrus, should I pull for Klee or should I wait for a Nahida rerun or wait for a Yelan rerun or like something like that? I would tell you, you know, you probably should wait for one of those characters. Like Yelan is great, Nahida is great. If you can get your hands on Nilu, she is great, right? But what if, and then they said like, yeah, but like I'm starting the game now and I'm really struggling. I need a DPS and I really love Klee. I think she's so cute. I've been spending all my time in her test runs just playing her and throwing bombs, and I find this so much fun. I really love her. And I'm like, okay, like if you really like Klee, like I wouldn't stop you. I wouldn't say like, oh, ignore what you love and go for the meta. Like if you really like Klee and you're like a diehard fan of how she like plays in the game, like it's not a bad idea to get her. I gotta tell them, like, it's just that to make her feel good, because you're playing her in the test runs and she's pretty much demolishing everything. Her burst comes back super quick, everything just dying like in waves. Like maybe that feels extremely satisfying. But I just gotta let them know that if you want that kind of effect in the real game, like consistently, that level of like feel goodness, you're gonna have to put a lot of work into that character, right? So as long as you're okay to do that, then go for it. But I'm just letting you know, you can get something similar playing, let's say, Nilu, but things are still exploding. It's just a different color, and it's much easier, leans much better into being a free-to-play. All right, you can play Nilu to the effectiveness of Klee and even better with far less effort. I'm just saying. But if you like Klee, go for it. Right, so this is how I like to give advice. You can't just be like, but who do you like more? Oh, just go with your heart, man. It's all the same. These characters don't matter. Meta doesn't matter. All the characters are the same. What matters is where your heart is. Date ba yo. Which I think is very disingenuous to how the game actually is. But meta doesn't matter. It does to a certain degree. If a free-to-play comes into the game and their goal is to beat the game, their goal is to beat the Spiral Abyss as fast as possible because their friends keep making fun of them for taking so long or something like that, or their friend keeps flexing on them because they still struggle with the Abyss or whatever, then meta absolutely does matter. Hippie Walrus isn't real. He can't hurt you. Those 13 days for Kokomi feels hella long. I like this. My account right now sitting on like a little over 10k and with extra 5 summons. I don't even know. Okay, I have Baiju, which is kind of dangerous because if I want the Hydro Archon, my lord, I'm gonna have to bend over backwards. But I think when the Hydro Archon comes out, I might not even be here. No, I'll still be alive, chat. Relax. Okay, don't don't kill me off like La Signora, but I mean, like, I might not be here present at my computer. I have another business trip, and this one is in China. So I might be in CN. Oh, this is problematic, and I might be there for like 2 months or something like that. So we'll see. Tim says it's not like if you are just starting the game, polling for Kazuha suddenly makes you clear floor 12 9-star below AR 45. Exactly. It's about piecing the puzzle together. I understand that. Like, polling for meta in Genshin Impact is a big bait, because you need to poll for meta teams, not meta characters. I think this is another conversation that's never talked about enough, is that meta characters don't really mean jack shit. Moonlight says Walrus Word of Wisdom.w meta Discord. Oh, Moonlight is here, so we could get the account review. All right, underway soon. So we'll talk about this a little more, because I think what most people think about in a game is like, okay, I'm gonna pull one character, and that character is gonna be like the pillar of my entire account. While Genshin Impact certainly has those types of characters, right? They are very difficult to make work in standalone. But what Genshin has that is amazing are options, which I literally made a meme earlier saying Dawi really doesn't like it when you have options. But regardless, Genshin gives you options in like what support you want to play. Yes, there are best in slot team options, but the second best options, the third best options oftentimes work fine. This is what I mean by options. It's not like if you don't use the best in slot, this character is garbage. Doesn't work like that. Whereas in a lot of other gacha games, especially ones that have like PvP in them, if you don't use the best in slot, you're gonna get steamrolled. That's just how it is in a lot of other games. Whereas Genshin, if you don't have like, for example, if Raiden National Team I was gonna say something and I realized this is gonna piss a lot of people off. I'm still gonna say it. If you don't have, let's say, Yelan for your Raiden National, which is an amazing option in my opinion, arguably best in slot, you got Xingqiu, which is like, arguably people would say they're the same character. But my point is, like, there's a 5-star version and a 4-star version of two characters that does very similar things in that respective team, right? If you don't have Yelan, Xingqiu is 100% fine, right? Also, actually, I found a greater example. If you don't have double Hydro Yelan Xingqiu for Hu Tao, if you don't have Hu Tao, Yelan Xingqiu, and Zhongli, you can always play just Hu Tao Xingqiu, and then you can play Albedo Zhongli. It's fine. Like, sometimes they don't even have to be the same role or same like support category to make work. There are plenty of variants. Same thing with Freeze, Ayaka Freeze. If you don't have Kokomi, Mona can work. Now, is she amazing? Like, I wouldn't say she's amazing, but Mona can work. There are alternatives. And if you want to go all the way back to like the oldest way people were playing Ayaka when she first came out, before Kokomi was even released, people were playing her with Xingqiu. So this is the good thing about Genshin Impact. Most people don't talk about this enough. Yes, meta matters. In my opinion, it does. To some of you guys, it might not. Meta, in my opinion, matters if you want to get to the destination, get to your end goal in the shortest amount of time. It matters. However, there are plenty of options in Genshin if you choose to take a different route to get there. Right? And I think that's fair. Edog Visu says, I remember my first team was Raiden, Rosaria, Jean, Xiangling. It was quite fun. Yeah, like people, I honestly would think that if you don't get involved with the meta in Genshin Impact, you'll overall have more fun with the game, because you end up experimenting with a bunch of stuff and you don't know what's good, what's not. You kind of just go in and you try things and see if they work. If they work, amazing. If they don't work, well, let's try again. That's part of the fun. What meta did for a lot of people was they took that process away from the game. They never needed to experiment. They never needed to try things. They just came in, plugged whatever the meta guys are recommending, and then they just played the game like that, which is also one way to play the game. Like, I'm not dogging on people's way of having fun. I'm just saying, like, you miss out on a huge portion of the game where otherwise you would have had to enjoy. And then people say like, oh my god, I'm out of content. I don't know if HoYoverse ever intended for content creators to play such an integral role to the success of the game, and also to the continuation of their success. But I want to argue just as much that content creators took away a lot of people's game hours. A lot. Especially the ones who solve puzzles for you, the tools that helped you find all the Geoculus, Animoculus, Dendroculus, Electroculus. All these tools shaved off. I would want to say like hundreds, if not millions. Is it millions? Probably millions of hours. Like, honestly, had these tools not existed, had these things not existed, people would be out here freaking playing this game day in, day out. Had guide channels not existed, had theory crafters not existed, right? How many more wasted materials, EXP books, would be spent on characters that eventually you just dropped and stopped playing? But because these people exist, a lot of people never made these mistakes. The first, like, they just built these teams without ever having to experiment, which is also cool. But like, I'm just saying, HoYoverse really underestimated the power of content creators. Edog Visu says, man, do I hate puzzles and gathering pieces. It's like the worst part. And Edog Visu, there will be people, get this, people who tell you if you hate that aspect, you should just quit the game. Like, if you don't love every single aspect of Genshin Impact, you shouldn't be playing the game. Wow, these elitist people really do know what they're talking about. Especially when they get the perspective from their own ass cheeks. Whew. Me too, man. I really hate puzzles as well. Anyways, I like to see them elitists play TCG. TCG is a complete other discussion. I'm not gonna talk about TCG here, because the more I talk about TCG, the more it just makes me want to giggle about how HoYoverse introduces their content into the game. I haven't done an account review in such a long time, people. Such a long time. Let's take a look. So for people who are curious, I'm only doing this account review is because this is at the request of our moderator, which I'm sorry, it just said the password was wrong, so I'm just double checking. Okay, there we go. Okay, check your email, moderator, Miss Moderator. Please check your email. There should be a code sent to you, and we can enter that code and we can get it. All right. In the meantime, you guys get to stare at my wonderful, wonderful face. Oh my god, look at my mustache. Look at that mustache. Jerome says, man, I've been consuming a lot of leaks every day. Won't discuss here, but man, I'm loving what the future has in store. The teaser broke the internet, so can't wait for us to experience it. I don't want to get my hopes up too much, because even with Sumeru, think about it like this. I think Sumeru is a phenomenal region, including the release of Dendro and how it uplifted so many like ways to play. But not uplift, it uplifted Electro, and it offered us many ways to play the game, and it gave us future prospects to new metas and reaction systems such as Burgeon, which still hasn't been fleshed out, which with Melt, that I keep saying that I really hope they do something with Melt through Burning, which would be very cool. None of that has come to light yet, but it gives us prospect. It gives us a future to look forwards to. How is, and yet with what Dendro brought us, yet fast forward to now, we're still completely out of things to do. One of the main problems with Genshin Impact is yes, it's a live service game, but there are other live service games that can honestly be played for like 2-3 months, if not like 6 months in a row without like a major update. Like there are people who are just there grinding away, working on their thing, like having an end goal. Genshin's end goal is it's such a low-hanging fruit. Like the Abyss is by no means like a legitimate end goal. You cannot convince me that the Spiral Abyss is your end goal. That is not an end goal. Like there is no way. Like the end goal, like if somebody started a new account right now, they could complete the Spiral Abyss if they consume meta content. That is, they could complete the Spiral Abyss in like 2 months. Like, come on, guys, you guys can't be telling me that the end of this game you can achieve it in 2 months. It's a live service game. It's a live service game, right? There are the people, like for example, a single player game maybe like 2 months. That's enough. But for a live service game, 2 months to completely like finish the game, I think that's too short. In my opinion, that's too short. I think minimum 6 months. Minimum 6 months. If not longer than that. If not like a year. To fully reach endgame. Then again, I'm biased. I don't mind sitting here working on something day in, day out. But that's that. The Hoyoverse has decided, you know, we don't want our end game to be too difficult for players to obtain, which is weird to me, right? Like, they captivate people with their characters, and then they make you guys log in to play the mini games so you can get the resources to pull these characters, which is a wild concept to me. Like, how can people enjoy doing something just for the sake of getting something in return? Wait a minute, is this just a fucking job? Wait, what? Wait, did Hoyoverse basically make you guys into part-time employees? Like, right? Think about it. You guys, why are you guys playing these minigames? Most of you guys don't want to play these minigames. Why are people working in their like dead-end jobs? Right? Why are people sitting there? Well, it's in exchange for a currency, right? For people, it's money. They get that paycheck so they can fucking live and survive. For you guys, it's so you can get the primo gems so you can eventually go and pull for the characters that you want. Same thing. Maybe people have family. Maybe they gotta spend this money on their spouse, their girlfriend, their kids. Right? Like, so they can't quit. Like, if you guys quit, then you don't get your characters. You don't get these amazing characters that you find very attractive or whatever, right? Sasuke, can you lower Discord notification, please? I'm sorry. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I've tried everything in my power to mute my Discord, but for some reason, I can't mute it. Now that might sound like an excuse to you, but I swear to God, my Discord has a mind of its own. I can mute it. You'll still hear you'll still hear the bloop, 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 bloop. So I tried muting it. So hopefully it's good. But just for reference, that is how often my Discord spams. Most of the channels, if not all of the channels, are muted. There are like 3 channels that are unmuted. But holy smokes, the amount of people that DMs me, this is crazy. Most of them are weirdos though. But if it means sifting through 9 weirdos to talk to the people that truly gives a shit, it's worth it every time. Darkstar says the only time I get a free 4-star from a minigame event was for Diona. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm gonna come clean. I have no idea what kind of mini games there are in the game. I just see them in the live stream, and I'm just like, wow, people actually play these events. But it's not like I cannot understand. I understand it. People have to play it because it's for the same reason why people have to work at their dead end jobs that they always say they hate it, but they end up going back, clocking in, collecting their paycheck. It is what it is. Dragon says, I hate the mini games. Honestly, I just play for the pre-rolls. Yeah, so it's a job. It's a job. It's for the crown. Ah, yes, the crown. Like, I actually never noticed this until I just said it out loud just now. I was like, God damn, that's you're basically working a part-time job. How many hours do you guys spend on Genshin per week? Like what, 3 hours per week, give or take? Maybe less than that, maybe 2, maybe 1. Some of you guys maybe spend like 1 hour barely on Genshin. But if you have to play through all the events, you're probably spending like an hour a day when the events are out. So it's like a part-time job. Maybe you guys are spending like 5-6 hours a week. If the events are active and you're playing all the events and stuff. Yeah. But anyways, let's take a look at this account. Oh, click the wrong one. Actually, you know what? Let's take a look at the map. Let's take a look at how much progress they've done. Sumeru is not fully completed, but there's a lot of progress made. Look at that. Not progress, I mean like... Okay, so they never really make it... Oh, you can tell they really liked Inazuma. Moonlight, come on, let's be honest. Are you a huge Inazuma fan? Are you a huge Inazuma fan? Liyue is okay. So look, they really enjoyed Mondstadt. I could tell Dragon Spine was huge, and then they really enjoyed Inazuma. Liyue, they kind of, I think maybe they got a little burnt out in Liyue. They're like, no, I'm not gonna go around doing all this. No, I can't do that. And then they came to the Chasm. They left it at 69. Lamau, okay, nice. And then Sumeru, like they were pretty cool about. Sumeru is fucking huge, bro. Like compare Sumeru to like Mondstadt. Like you can fit Mondstadt here. That's it. That's Mondstadt. I mean, sure, you got like, oh, but Dragon's okay. There you go. Mondstadt. That's Mondstadt. Look at Sumeru. Sumeru is like 3 times the size of Mondstadt. Like 3 times the size of Mondstadt. American says, haven't bothered to explore all of Sumeru. I mean, to be fair, Sumeru is huge. Bethesda says, Walrus Fontaine is bigger than Sumeru World. I mean, Hoyoverse do be having deeper pockets. You know, to be honest, Liyue and Mondstadt combined together is like the size of a modern region. And I'm counting Chasm for Liyue as well. So this plus this is usually like, is what we should be expecting for a modern region release, right? God damn, this is just huge. Granted, this, like most of this over here is just empty space. Very little stuff here. Very little, just a desert, but I mean, then again, this is just mountains and stuff over here in Liyue. Cool. Inazuma had some pretty top-notch zones, though. All of their islands have like unique feature and characteristics. Pretty cool. What the hell is this? I don't think I even unlocked that. God damn. Okay, let's look at characters then. I'm gonna take chat off for a little bit here. I usually say that, and I forget to bring you guys back up. It seems like... Okay, Wanderer. Skipped a lot of the Dendro stuff. What about the Archon? The Archon. Skip Sino. Oh, skipped the two Archons in the front here. Is this a whale account or I don't think it's a whale account. Ooh, look at that. This means that this is like what, a low spender or a free to play account? Oh, they haven't even checked their battle pass yet, so I'm gonna guess they don't even buy the battle pass. And they don't have the Welkin Moon. Oh no, they do. No, wait. They don't. They don't. They don't have the Welkin Moon. So we could deduce that this is a free-to-play account. But they have the Ayaka skin. Maybe they won it in a giveaway. Because they have the Ayaka skin. Which is very weird to look at. But anyways. So they do have the BP. At certain points at least. What refinement? Refinement rank 1. Okay. Speaking of the BP weapons, this is something that HoYoverse is very interesting in doing. That they don't make the BP weapons that good. They don't make the BP weapons that good. Like, they're okay, especially for beginners. They're decent options. But if you progress into the game somewhat, these weapons stop becoming like good options. Most of the time you'll find recommendations that are like just like very rarely would you ever find like a solid BP recommendation nowadays, but it's good to use it. To be honest, even for Ayaka, this weapon isn't that necessary because you don't need that crit rate too in most of her good teams. Let's take a look. 56 to 18. Oh, Hana. Hello. Hello. This is a very tiny kitty. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, yes. Yes. Anyways. Where were we? Looking at Artifact, Blister. I'm not sure if this is like a legit team they run. Because this is basically a supercharged aggravate team, which if this were like a legitimate team, like this is one interesting team. No consolations. 899. What is this? Is like not to dog on Eula players, but this is the type of team they'll run with Eula, and they say like my Eula is OP. When Ayaka burst, Yai burst with Nahida burst does like most of the heavy lifting consistently, and a Eula comes in with her burst to clean the room. They're like, oh my god, Eula is so OP. Like this like Eula is amazing. I'm not making fun of them. I'm just saying that a lot of Eula players would justify Eula's existence by slapping her in some of the most like OP, like slapping her in a team with some like super OP characters and then just be like, there, Eula's OP. Attack, cryo, and what? Crit damage? Yeah. HP, I mean, I want to look at some other teams, to be honest with you. Is it L? Oh, I still got it. I want to see like some of the teams they got running. Like this is like, I'll be honest, this is the best one so far. This is the best one so far if we're looking at legitimate teams. Interesting. Not Moonlight, that's not the team, just mix and match. I see. Let's see how many characters you got to level 90. So all the way up to Yoimiya, you got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 10 units at level 90. But it extends far further. Got Nahida on the Witsith. Ooh, 525 Elemental Mastery. What are you running for the artifacts? Oh! Oh! Is it just because you needed the 4-piece set? Got C1. Huh. Crown though. So you see, this is where like my brain is just like I know EM is good on her, but like, is there a legitimate reason why people are building attack goblet for Nahida with a crit rate headpiece? I don't know. I'm legitimately asking. I don't know. Right? That's how out of tune I am. And you see Yamiko with attack goblet. No, there's no way. There's no way that this is her best in slot, right? Like obviously their artifacts are kind of jumbled up here, so I don't know where her artifacts are. But Eula has to be OP. No, like this is they even have Eula in the 46. So with the Crowd Resonant, that is like, oh, they just realized they didn't have the Welcome Moon. So is plus 15, which is what, like 60 crit rate. That's good-ish enough. 60% could still get rolled due to bad RNG, but ooh, another one. This one has pretty good crit rate. Like this is actually an insane feather piece if you guys look at the crit rate. 10% to 21 crit damage. Unlucky, not a single crit rate stat on this piece. Like ideally, I would rather have this be like a triple crit rate roll piece. Then your Eula would feel very consistent. The problem with Eula is consistency, in my opinion, right? Wait a minute. Wait. There's no way. Yeah, like attack goblin. Wait, I thought this is like the Eula mains account or something. Crit rate headpiece, nice, solid crit damage, substat. But come on now, like, come on. There's no way that there is no way a Eula main has not got an on-set physical goblet. And on top of that, like if you don't have the onset physical, you also don't have a crit rate onset either. No way. Not a single crit. You do. No. You do. I would, honest to God, I would run this crit rate headpiece on set and change this to a random ass physical goblet. I would do that. That's personally, I would do that. Oh, you don't have one. Oh no, it's here. I was like, run this. This is look. Whatever you're missing from here, you get back here and then some. Just bite the bullet and run this. Yeah, like level this max out. Like sure, like the substats are crap. I get it. It sucks. But then you run this physical damage offset. You get all of the stats back and then some. 21%, 2.7%. Attack is 10.5%. That's amazing. I thought you didn't have one, but look at this. That's like the first thing. Like that's an instant boost. You'll see better crit rate. You see even higher crit damage, I believe. And you lose out on attack. So you lose out on attack. That's the only thing. But you gain a ton of physical damage, which is amazing, right? You have her weapon as well, so maybe it's because you have her weapon you think like, okay, like I don't need that much physical damage because I have her weapon. But no. Physical damage is always going to be best for her. Oh, Kazuha, I mean, are we looking at a free-to-play's account or a low spender? Because Freedom Sworn on Kazuha, Song of Broken Pines on Eula, Staff of Homa on... Let's see what you got going on for Kazuha. 575 artifacts. You're doing a crit rate build? Yeah, seems like a crit rate build. Why? I mean, you can always double check with this feature now. Is there a reason why you prefer attack? Like, because this can't be a coincidence, right? Like, this is like the third character we've seen that you prefer attack on over other stats. Is there a reason why you prefer attack? Oh yeah, unless they have C2. I'm just curious. Unless truly they're just that unlucky, they farmed like literally I just like see, okay, what is Kale using? Kale is for some reason using a viridescent elemental mastery piece. Moonlight says, I literally told you my RNG copium go heaven. But you have one right here. It's on Kale though. Why not put attack percentage on Kale? Because of the substats? Well, it depends on what kind of Kazuha you're running, but what are they running on the Sans piece? Also attack? Sans, I think, is Elemental Mastery. Okay, so they are running some Elemental Mastery, but then they choose to then pivot towards a crit rate build in their goblet and headpiece. Tech Cats is they have to be testing you. Which is very interesting that they would want to test me, because my game knowledge is about as deep as the shallow end of a kiddie pool. So I mean, but I would even know, like, run the Elemental Mastery, but then they maybe don't have Elemental Mastery here. It seems like that's the only thing they have. A hybrid Kazuha. I mean, I did play a crit rate Kazuha build when I first got him, and I've found it to be good, but once I pivot into EM, it just felt more consistent and better and less hassle. So there's that. Okay, now if Hu Tao also has an attack percentage goblet, all right, chat. Let's before we look at it, let's look at it like this. So Hu Tao has 1041 attack. Her HP is 35,244. 57.9 215 with 61.6 pyro damage. Does Hu Tao also have an attack percentage goblet? I don't think so. Looking at her attack, I don't think she has an attack percentage goblet. But there's a chance that she might have an HP goblet. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't memorized what you know what? Let's just peel the bandage off and go for it. Okay, there's a pyro damage goblet. With an HP sense with a crit. Okay, this is very standard. Thank the Lord. They didn't do the Wangshan funeral director dirty. Insane stats. All right, I wouldn't say it's insane. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Oh. Going into HP is never a bad thing, I guess, for Hu Tao. This has to be best in slot. For Hu Tao, this goblet has to be best in slot. With the Elemental Mastery, HP, and crit rate crit damage. Only works paired onto Hu Tao. Unlucky, no crit damage, but it is what it is. This domain is a pain in the ass cheeks to farm, I'm telling you guys. But then again, if you go farm for Raiden Shogun's domain, you might eventually find a better Shimenawa set. I'm just saying, you might eventually find a better Shimenawa set. Just kidding. Solid. 10 constellations, C2, even higher than my Hu Tao. And this account has 32 million Mora. For what reason? I don't know. I think this is the account. This is the person that Ningguang comes to when she needs to refinance her fucking Jade Chamber. Like, yo, can I just borrow a cool 10 million Mora with a fixed interest rate for 7%? And a 25-year amortization period. Thank you very much. This is the bank. Oh, there it is, the welcome moons. 2-month welcome moons. Noelle is level 50. Why is she here? Wait, why? Why is she here? Wait, what? That's so weird. Is this a bug? Why is a level 50 Noelle sitting above all these other characters? Favorited? Can you favorite characters? How do you favorite characters? Oh, I see it. Is it this? That's why. I see. Favorited but not favorited but not built. So this is the only favorited character of theirs that is not level 90. Right? Everybody else is look. Favorite. They only have 4 favorite characters, and 3 out of the 4 are level 90. Well, I guess better to say Noelle. Got some work to do there. Raiden Shogun. Now this is an interesting character to look at because her stats are all over the place and you need to really fine tune them. 44.7, 133.2. A little bit on the low end for crit rate, but we'll see. Ideally with that crit damage you want like 55 or 60%. I'm gonna guess with their account that she's using her signature weapon. I was wrong. HP, attack with good substats. Wow, look at that. Look at these substats. That was a triple crit rate. Okay, that's a triple crit rate. Energy recharge. So this one has to be Electro. That's wow, 14.0 crit rate. That's a quad roll for crit rate. Actually, wait a minute. This looks like it was a 3 stat piece and then you got the crit rate rolled on as the 4th stat at level 4, right? And then it rolled. Wait, no, crit rate should have been on here and then it rolled 4. No. It didn't have crit rate. This rolled into crit rate 4 times. Right? This is a... yeah, they rolled into crit rate 4 times. No, all 5 times. So this thing didn't have crit rate at all. And then from level 4, it added crit rate. And then level 8, it went into crit rate. 12 crit rate. 16 crit rate. And I think 20 also crit rate, right? Oh, did it roll into flat attack once? I don't remember the base stat for flat attack. But look, this one also has 58. We need to find like a flat attack piece. Cause I think if that's the case, then they got insanely lucky. Okay, yeah, it rolled into flat attack. Yeah. Look, flat attack at level 0 is 14. Maybe they even rolled into it twice. No way, but plus 14. So already a pretty insane. Wait, what? Yeah, they definitely rolled into flat attack once or twice, but still a very insane crit rate roll. Yeah, they probably rolled into this twice. Wait a minute, that means, okay, then they must have had crit rate already on here when they got the piece, because then it just wouldn't be enough to roll 14% and also double flat attack rolls. Unlucky. Imagine if it went into attack percentage. So yeah. Still pretty lucky though. 14% crit rate, that has to be considered a high roll on a substat roll. Crit damage, oh, unlucky with no. Where's the off piece in her set? She has no off piece? Is there no better crit damage headpiece? Like you can easily run an off piece, no? Like look at that. I'ma just instantly better. 54%. You lost like nothing. You just gain free stats. Right? Like unless you have a better crit damage headpiece. I'm just saying that's just free. Like, I mean, you can even yoink Diona's. There's a lot of why is there a lot of English VA drama? What happened? What happened? Oh my god, drama? Please do share. Another English VA? Yeah, but I would honestly leave it at this. A little luckier with substats, another like maybe 6%. Yeah, you can boom. 60% crit rate. Very consistent. Change the ER piece instead of the hat. I mean, that hat was, I mean, look at that hat. Like, that hat was pretty. Come on, really? You guys think it's going to be a better ER piece? These are all the ER pieces they have. I mean, they'd rather give this to Xingqiu than Rider Shoku. Oh my god. Oh my god. But yeah, they really don't have that many ER pieces. Chris is sub later because got distracted by Genshin VA news, aka Paimon's English VA said that she hasn't got paid in 6+ months. What?
If you feel like Paimon's voice
What?
is annoying, you need to take a listen to this. This is what she sounds like today.
Fungi are monsters!
Nope, that's not what we're looking for. It's not even on YouTube. Nobody has made a video about it. Not paid. I don't see it. Nobody's talking about it. Sounds like cap. It does sound like cap. Like, holy smokes. Wait, hold up. I'll find it. Oh. Okay, it seems like this is what's going on. Again, this is just he says, she says, but this is the thing that I can find. Apparently, it says about Paimon's English VA, and this is like a year ago, so I don't even know. Like, is this enforcing their non-binary as facts and canon? I also heard they are acting very unprofessional and even have their fans attack a fellow VA, Griffin Burns, over a ship they dislike. And apparently this is like old news. They tend to be hella unprofessional. It's okay to have your headcanons, that's fine. It's not okay to be aggressive with people who disagree with your headcanon. Like, I don't know. But like, they don't sound like an individual that is very trustworthy of what they're saying, according to just this post. Now, I don't know if these people absolutely hate them and just are spreading misinformation about them, but man, can you imagine if Hoyoverse didn't pay like their voice actors for 6 months? That's crazy. There's no way. It's this link, Wars. Oh, did somebody DM it to me? Let's take a look. I have been waiting for payment from sessions that stretch back to December 2022. Kind of ridiculous how I am struggling to pay rent because this studio on this big project hasn't been paying me for my work. They've never specified if it is Genshin though. So okay, maybe it's non-Genshin related. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. When I heard they haven't been paid for a voice acting gig, I thought it's Genshin, but they probably cannot openly state who it is. But there's no way it's Genshin. No. So they say that I have been working for months that have gone unpaid. This is unacceptable, and that's why we need video games to be union. Actors need to be protected. I agree. How is this legal? Aren't they required to pay out? Yes, but I don't have money for a lawyer, which is why if games were union, the union could do this fight for me. How do you make your ends meet? I just worry about VA's well-being at all time. I'm literally at risk of becoming homeless right now because they have not been paying me. And of course, they cannot specify who. I don't think it's HoYoverse. All right, guys, let's first get this out of the way. I don't think it's HoYoverse. Milk this for and make content. We can't because this is so little to go off of. We can't make a full-on video, and we need more information. We need more sides to the story. So just this by itself is not enough. Jello Impact says, brutal in Canada, employment lawyers will fight for you for free. Damn. Damn. I didn't even know that, and I live in Canada. But then again, I'm self-employed, so I have no idea how that works. What contract? Darkshot says that, but if she's getting paid from Hoyo, this shouldn't even exist, to be honest. That is like kind of true, but I would imagine Hoyoverse pays her in like big chunks, right? So it's up. Oh, did I say her? I mean Hoyoverse against people. I this is my first time. Don't cancel me. Hoyoverse pays them in big installments per project. I don't believe Hoyoverse is paying them per a monthly schedule, right? Like, so what they did with the Hoyoverse money is like a whole separate thing. Did they make big purchases? I also don't know, as the voice actor for Paimon, and I believe they do get work outside of Genshin Impact, and this is just like a single instance. But to say like, but then again, voice acting seems like the type of job that's like you really have to consistently be getting paid with gigs and work that you do to stay afloat. Like, for reference, for real estate, for myself, I can do 3 real estate deals and be set for the year, right? Like, real estate is a great example in that, like, if I can complete 3 sales, I'm set for a year. I know colleagues who complete 1 big commercial sale and they've been gone for 5 years. so I've yet to see the man, and he's been gone since 2020. He made 1 deal. Like, he closed like a $23 million commercial real estate deal, and I haven't seen the man since 2020. So it's like, this is a very different landscape from like voice acting. Maybe you get paid like a couple $1,000s per gig, maybe like 6,000-7,000, right? And maybe even that is paid out in installments. So it's just like having these people end up being like having to chase their employers for their paycheck. That is insane. And I know because like there are certain companies, not companies, but like certain employers will be okay to rip off or even straight up ghost these talents because they know, like, oh, what are you gonna do, sue me? You have the money to sue me? Well, then bring it on, right? Like, these bigger companies will leverage their more prominent financial stance to just take advantage of these people, which is insane. Artemila says, do you need to study for that job? Well, where I am, you need to get a license, but don't think it's that easy because you first need clientele. Like the guy that I'm telling you that like he closed, I don't think I can disclose. I mean, maybe I can. But to be safe, I'm not going to disclose it. He closed a commercial real estate. What that basically is like, you know, like shopping malls, these kind of things are commercial real estate, but it's not that big. Shopping malls probably goes for like hundreds of millions. So when I say like 20 something million, it was like a corner lot on a pretty busty, busy road, and it was like zoned for commercial real estate. So they had like some stalls, some vendors. There were some some stores for food, and there were some like dry cleaning and some nails salons and stuff like that. And he was working on that, and he's like, the owner wanted to sell it, and he basically made the sale. Dude's been gone. Like I don't know, like maybe he's gonna come back in 2-3 more years. I don't know, but I'm telling you guys, that guy cut a fat commission check when he made that sale, and he's gone. But yeah, different line of work. Like, don't think real estate is as easy as you get a license and then people are going to flock to you to buy homes for them. You need to build up your network. You need to build up. I can say for a fact that there's a lot of people who like, okay, just to give you guys this statistic, there are more licensed real estate that are not working in where I am right now than there are licensed realtors that are actually working. I would say there's only about 20% of the people who have a license has active work to do as a real estate agent. The other 80% are doing like another job on the side. So yeah, that's just basically the other job is their main income. Now, I'm not like a super successful real estate agent, because if I were, my phone would never stop. Like these people, like especially in, I'm like, all right. Okay, I get by, right? I'm fine, but it's not like I'm living it up, you know. But yes, real estate is type of that kind of job where I need to make 3 deals in a year and I'm set. On average, where I am, a deal can make me somewhere between like 12,000 all the way to like 20 something thousand dollars per deal. So 3 deals, you're looking at around like 36,000 to like 36,000 you can get by for the year, but then it's like that's very bare minimal living, right? And then all the way up to like 60 something. But there are deals that can net you like $40,000 per deal, right? So really depends on what type of property you're dealing with. But yeah, if you guys are in Vancouver, want to buy something, let me know, or you want to sell something, let me know. Marcus, so that's how you're able to whale. Yes, that is how I'm able to whale. That is how the money comes and goes. Kaiga-kun says, would you be surprised if he came with a family? Now, I mean, he already has a family. He has a 12-year-old already when I knew him. Jello Impact is, how do you live on 36K? I don't live on 36. I'll just give an example. Like if you're like, because people were asking me, oh, like, can I get this job? At the low end, you're making about like $10,000-$12,000 per sale on an average priced home, not like a 30-year-old 1-bedroom. Like, those kind of go for like 400,000. Like even those go for like $300,000-$400,000. But and that you won't make much. You make a couple thousand. But most of the properties here are going for like 800,000, 1.2 million, 1.3 million. One of those are gonna net you a little better. Cello Impact says, dude, I just moved away from Vancouver. Vancouver is... It's Vancouver. What can I say? The cost of like rent in Vancouver is just insane. Like a 1-bedroom in a good location, meaning you're close to SkyTrain, close to transportation, a good 1-bedroom apartment goes for about like 2,200 Canadian dollars, which is around like 1,800 US dollars. Imagine renting a 1-bedroom costing you $2,200. It's not as bad as New York, but it's pretty bad. Art Artemio says, do you need to get up every day? Not every day. Only days when I have to work. I work. I wouldn't say I work every single day. I work maybe 30% of the year. I'm working. The other 70% I'm chilling. I'm straight chilling. Again, like, you don't need to be working 8 hours a day every single day. You could. There are realtors who work 10 hours a day. There are people who work 10 hours a day who are like just live and breathing real estate. Like they're picking up client calls at 10 p.m. They wake up at 2 a.m. to like, you know, like go on video chat, wear their suit and like their collared shirts, or like talking with clients overseas about prospects. And then they are like constantly, they go to every single real estate project. They network with all the real estate developers and all this stuff. Like they're constantly meeting people, like lobby. It makes me wonder like how these people, like how much is enough. These people are pulling in like hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. Like some of them even up in the millions every single year. And that's the kind of life a lot of them live. They're like they're glued to their phones. They're working constantly 24/7. They even have teams of people working for them for real estate, which like, I mean, you can always, you know, appreciate the hustle. You can be like, God damn, like this person really wants it. But at a certain point, like I just look at them and be like, holy smokes, like they must really enjoy that working life. It's addicting. Yeah, they must really like love it, because to them, people are always calling them asking for help. Like, oh, I really want to work with you. Like, I heard you're like the #1 realtor, or like the top 5%, top 1% realtor. Like, would love to work with you, blah, blah, blah. And like, they got people like just lined up to work with them. And each deal they close, it's like they're selling on average homes that are worth $2-3 million, right? So that's a ton of money, and most of the time they don't even need to actively work. They just send their team members to go work for them. So they're just like, they only work with the clients they want to work with. So they get to choose who they want to work with, and all the other ones, the smaller fishes. So let's say somebody wants to buy a $1.5 million townhouse, they wouldn't even work with them. They'll just be like, oh yeah, sure. Like, I like, this is my team member Kevin. This is Mr. Yang. Kevin, go help Mr. Yang out. And then they just peace. They just ditch. They go talk to the people who want to buy $5 million, $6 million, you know, luxury homes. And then they're the ones who work with those. Like, obviously you wouldn't put Kevin to go work with like a high profile client that wants to buy a $5 million property, right? Like, it's just, you're more confident in like working with them yourself, obviously. And as well, you don't have to split the revenue with Kevin. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, so it's quite a competitive market over here, is what I'm trying to say. And I'd imagine real estate is a competitive market anywhere. There's no guarantee. You don't have a base salary. If you don't work, you don't get paid. If you don't complete deals, you don't get paid. You can work for like 3 months with a client and then they decide to not buy with you, you don't get paid. That's just the nature. It's a commission job. So you really have to work hard. You really have to go out of your way to try to make that connection and do good service, and maybe people will refer you to their friends and families. How many houses do I sell in a year? Well, if we're talking about transactions, maybe like 7, 8 here and there. So like, I'm doing all right, but I wouldn't say I'm like in Vancouver, I wouldn't say I'm like wealthy or rich or living, like, I wouldn't even call myself upper middle class. Like, if you're making anything below, I would say below $300,000 a year in household income, you're not upper middle, in my opinion. I'm like middle. Like, I'm smack right in the middle. Like 140,000 a year is around middle, roughly. Especially in Vancouver, it's like, it's crazy. Man, it's crazy here. Like, you guys, if you guys come live here, it's suffocating, borderline suffocating. Like, just think about it, 2,200 for a 1-bedroom apartment. Just a 1-bedroom apartment. Like, that is no place for like most. And minimum wage, like if you make minimum wage in like Vancouver, you cannot live here. Like, you just can't. You can't afford it. You have to live with your parents, or you're receiving help, or like maybe you're like in a house with 10 other people. There are those homes like you're living in a house with 10 roommates, or like 8 roommates, and each of them pay like $300 a month, and they get like one room, or sometimes you share another room with another person and you split the cost. Is American taxation lower than most? Well, Canada, Vancouver is pretty hardcore with their taxing. Zeno, man, this is the wildest account review. Yeah, you guys are looking at my financial accounts. But yeah, like for those of you who are curious, this is the reality of things in Canada right now. So like, back to the topic of the voice actor. I don't know where they're currently operating, but like, it's weird to say that not getting paid from this one project is causing them to go homeless. That's because that's what they're saying. They're like, oh, I'm about to go homeless because this project is not paying me. It's weird because it's like me saying like, oh, because I'm not completing real estate for 3 months, I'm about to go homeless. It doesn't really, I mean, 6 months, even if I don't, like right now I can stop working. Like right now I can just stop working for the next 6 months. I'll be fine. It's like, I'm not gonna die. But then again, it's a different, like I said, it's a different nature, right? Like voice acting in the West especially is still like a new-ish career, especially video games. Like this person is saying, is like they need union for video games because they need protection. They need protection from like small, for example, if I could start a video game company tomorrow and I can leverage maybe a more stable financial standing to prey on unsuspecting talent. Like I can go on Fiverr and find somebody, maybe not Fiverr, because Fiverr is like a middleman and they'll take the money, so it's very difficult to scam people. But I can get into contact with somebody with a project I'm working on and scam them. Like, who's to stop me? Who's like, they're gonna sue me? Sue me. Like, sue me, come on. And that's what these video game companies are doing. Like at least that's what it sounds like. They're just taking advantage of people. And like, they have the balls and the gall to take advantage of somebody with such a huge following as well. I mean, 13.8K, like, is not a lot, but it's like, this is a very well recognized individual, right? Like the voice of Paimon, to think they would go out of their way to screw this person. Like, sure, screw somebody who has no followers, who's just getting into the line of work, or who has like a 1 to 2 year experience, who has a good voice, very professional. Screw that person over. They have no voice. They have no way to like get help. They're just gonna have to roll over and take it, right? But you would go out of your way to screw the voice of Paimon, who actually have a platform. And I think the only reason they cannot disclose who it is because of the contract they've signed, or they don't want to risk like sounding unprofessional. Yeah, I'm also curious what this project is, but I don't think they can talk about it. That is, like, if they actually mention the company or the title, they can get sued in reverse for defamation. Can they not? Like, sure, they would have no grounds to sue, but they would be like, this is a matter that was supposed to be settled between you and us. You had no need to take this publicly. Right? And you could be like, oh, but you weren't paying me. What else was I supposed to do? I've asked you once, I've asked you twice, you weren't paying me. But still, we were in the works of something, right? Like, so it's like, you get to the court and then look, they will just draw out the court case, and every single time your lawyer has to work, they're just taking money, taking money, taking money. Do you think somebody who's claiming that they're gonna go homeless because they haven't been paid for 6 months has the financial backings to finance a lawyer for like a potential 2-3 year court case, like lawsuit, no way. They cannot survive that. So what the company is basically doing is, we're not going to pay you. You cannot even leverage your community. Like, I mean, in this case, if the community comes together, let's say the only way they would get justice is if her community comes together and financially support her to sue the company. That's the only way. Like, do it. Tell us who it is, and we will find, and then go do a GoFundMe, and we will fund every penny to sue the daylights out of that company. That's the only way. Then they'll probably pay her. Pay them. Hey, I did well for like a good 30 minutes. One slip up does not make me a bad person. I'm just saying. Relax. Them. I said them. I said them. I did not say her. I said them. Right? So if they can leverage their community to pool the money to take this to court, I mean, because yeah, like 6 months of no pay, that's crazy. Come on. As long as they have the original contract. Again, I'm not a lawyer, okay? I'm no lawyer, but if they have the original working contract that detailed compensations, and then able to prove that, you know, got nothing. 6 months, haven't seen a penny. It's a very easy case to close. Like, once, like, this is in my experience, okay? Again, my real estate experience. People will be stubborn until you hand them the letter from the lawyers. Once the lawyer's letter reaches their hand, oh my goodness, it's like they flip a switch. You can have the most difficult to deal with person that you're trying to either evict or deal with, but once they get the lawyer, the lawsuit papers delivered to their house, my god, you get that phone call so quick. They're like, oh, like, what is this? Oh, I didn't know. Like, okay, what do you do tomorrow? Okay, I'll move out tomorrow. Listen, people are gangsters until they realize they're looking down an endless pit of money that they're gonna have to spend in a situation they have no business winning, right? So this company, once they get the lawyer paper in their office, delivered to their office, they're gonna pay this person like faster than you can say Paimon. Faster than you can say emergency food. Moonlight says, Walrus, are we still on account reviews? Yes, we'll go back to account review. But yeah, I really hope the best for them, but unfortunately, unless they have financial support in this situation, or a lawyer who's willing to do the work for free, because it's like, in my opinion, if everything they claim is true, this is a one and done case. They just need the money to deliver the lawsuit to the company, and they'll get paid. In my opinion, unless they're lying about something, right? If they're lying about something, then I don't know. But if this is true, they have a working agreement contract, fully detailing compensation, and then proof of no compensation for 6 months. This is a one case. You don't even need to go to court. They'll pay you if you just sue them. But probably don't have the money, or they're not sharing the whole story, right? Anyways, we got a little bit more to go. I want to take a look at Yoimiya is who I meant to say. Like, what happened here? They took all her weapons. Look at Yoimiya. And I'll probably look at Wanderer, actually. Very interested to see Wanderer. 48%. That's kind of on the low end, like, to be honest, but she shoots so many times, maybe. Ooh, my goodness, Yoimiya, my girl. You are being mistreated, kind of. I mean, not really, but like, what's the weapon? Hamayumi. Let's just go look at the Wanderer. C1! Where's Fadozan? I saw they had Fadozan. Where is she? Oh, no. Still a work in progress. Oh, I see you're probably sharing a lot of artifacts, aren't you? Saraxa says, I reach 1k days on Genshin next week. You want to review that account then? The thing is, I don't really review Genshin accounts nowadays because I haven't played the game for like 2-3 patches. Mars says, Walrus, how many reviews do you think you're doing? Like, I'm only doing this because it's for Moonlight, because Moonlight is our community moderator. I don't pay her. Because then again, you guys know I live in Vancouver. But this is the least I can do in exchange. But I'm really not a reliable source of when it comes to account review. But I'll say this: if you guys want me to look at your accounts, like, I don't care, Walrus. You can say that build Chi-Chi as a cryo battery, and I still want you to take a look at my account. Then sure, no problem. No problem. Like, it's not that I don't want to. It's just like I'm not the best source of information when it comes to account and what you should be working on. Right? A lot of the stuff that I know of is more so like early 3.0 meta with like post Nahida release kind of stuff. But even then, I haven't played the game as extensively as I used to. When I back in Inazuma, I would play the game like religiously, trying out different team comps, because back then I was still like wailing on every single character, and I was like trying them, testing them. But nowadays in Sumeru, I kind of just take the characters, try that. Oh, this works really well. I don't really need to even try other options. I just don't find the need to test things as much, so I can't give you guys as much variance when it comes to recommendations. Fisho is a battery for Ching, Chi-Chi is a battery for Eula, and Bennett is a battery for Hu Tao. I really need to like I listen, chat, how many people would buy Chi-Chi battery merch? No, like, be real. If I release Chi-Chi battery merch, how many people would actually buy it? Like, I don't even know what kind of merch I would make. Like, maybe a talisman, maybe like a Chi-Chi talisman, like a hairpin or something like that. Like a hairpin that you can like pin into your hair for the ladies, and then it's a talisman that says like Chi-Chi battery, but like the Chi-Chi battery kind of looks like the Chi-Chi talisman writing, right? And then you can style your hair with a hairpin of the Chi-Chi talisman, and then or maybe like a hoodie, Chi-Chi battery, flip-flops, Chi-Chi battery. Or actual batteries. Or actual batteries. Oh my god. Just make a brand of batteries called Chi-Chi? Oh. Hairpin or hoodie. Chi-Chi on the literal battery. Yo. Listen, I need to start capitalizing on the Chi-Chi battery like thing. Like, people be out there living it up with the Chi-Chi battery thing, and I was the one who coined it. Me, I am the creator of Chi-Chi battery, and I'm out here not capitalizing in on it. No, I need to start a merch line. I need to start a Chi-Chi battery merch line. I need to get this on the on my work list here. We got Beijing corn. Anything is possible. Meme creator battery. Yeah. Like, I don't know, a hoodie, but then again, I think maybe a t-shirt would be nice. I think the talisman hairpin, thing is also a pretty cute thing. But like, then again, I don't know about like fashion and design, so I don't know how good it would even be. Put Chi-Chi follow emote inside the battery too, but I would get sued for that. I would get sued for that. The only thing I can use is the phrase, probably Chi-Chi battery. I probably can't even use Chi-Chi on it, to be completely honest with you guys, because Hoyoverse can then sue me. So I can't even put Chi-Chi the character on it, but I need to somehow put Chi-Chi battery on it. I don't know, this is gonna be so tough to make. This is gonna be so tough. Without using the actual face of Chi-Chi, how can I make this? That's crazy. I don't know. Then again, if it's small, if I only make like 20 sales, I don't think Hoyoverse would give a damn. Then again, it's Hoyoverse. You don't fucking know. Dawei could be like, Walrus, careful. We've been wanting to fuck you up for a long time now with the stuff you've been saying about me, right? Be careful, Walrus. Careful what you do. Make your next moves very carefully. We gotta take a look at Kaching. Every single. Oh my god, no, we don't gotta take a look at Kaching. We don't gotta take a look at Kaching. Yelan 29%. Wait, I'm pretty sure all their artifacts are just yoinked. Yeah, all their artifacts are yoinked. So we're pretty much done with the account review here because we can only take a look at the characters that have their stats. In my honest opinion, I don't really think you need to pull anybody. Like, this account is like very mature. Like, just wait for Fontaine. No, like, really, the people were like, oh, do I need Alhaitham? Do I need Baiju, Sino, Tainari? Do I need to build any of the Dendro stuff? Like, only if you want, because there's a lot of core units here that are incredibly strong, like Hu Tao, Ayaka, right? Raiden with her National Foundation, really good. Yelan as a flex unit, very strong. You already got Wanderer. You got Nilu, right? Like who do you need? Like, you don't really need anybody here. Like, if you want Alhaitham as a flex Dendro carry, sure. Baiju, you really don't need at all. Right? So, like, honestly, just waiting for Fontaine is the best course of action for this account. How many gems do you got in here? Not enough. So, I would say just skip everything. In my honest opinion, just skip everything. Even probably skip the 4.0 characters. I don't know, like a Pyro character. I like, with my hand in the air, hand on my heart, I can solemnly tell you guys, I do not believe HoYoverse would make any good Pyro characters until Natlin. No way in hell, because they must be scratching their head already with Hydro, right? Making Hydro so powerful, now making the Hydro region, this is a tall task for them to make a region of an element that is already so broken. So surely they're not going to make Pyro broken and then have to go deal with that bullshit in Natlin. I'm sure they already have ideas of what they want to work in Natlin. So all Pyro characters that comes out until now, like between now and Natlin, are going to be hella mid. I said it. Screenshot this, record this, print this, ship this, whatever the hell you want to do with this. I said it. Mark my words. Not a single Pyro character that comes out between now and Natlin is going to be revolutionary. They're all going to be mid at best. And by the way, to like Yoimiya level, like lukewarm Yoimiya level, maybe a little bit, like roughly around Yoimiya. I think Yoimiya is a great benchmark. I'm going to leave it at that. It's not going to be better than Yoimiya. Okay? Very baseline mid characters. And then Natlin's going to hit, and that's when you're going to be like, I don't know what the hell that was. I need to end stream. I've been on here for way too long. This Eleni is as good as Klee. Ah. Exactly what I said. Exactly what I just said. So, there it is. I don't even need to look at leaks to say this. Like, come on, guys. Come on. Come on. You just need to understand HoYoverse. Check resin? Yeah, we did. It was painful. It was painful to look at. But that's gonna be it, guys, for the live stream and account review. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, I really do enjoy talking about things that are both Genshin related and non-Genshin related. Like, maybe in the future we'll set up a stream where we can just talk about other stuff. If you got other stuff, I mean, if you guys really want to know more about me, I'm down to just chat with you guys. Like, maybe I'll open up a Q&A. Maybe I'll open up a Q&A. You guys can ask me questions there, and then I'll answer the questions, as long as it's not too personal. Like, you know, like, or is how I can't say that without getting banned. Yeah, I'd love to talk with you guys more if you guys are interested in what I have to say. Oh, what is your SSN? What is SSN? PP size. Yeah, that. Oh, social security number. Or it's sad you couldn't talk about that tier list. Oh, you're right. Oh, fuck. There was a tier list somebody sent me. Yes. Oh. Don't worry. We'll save this for Wednesday. Don't worry. We'll get to this. We'll let it marinate. How about that? We'll let it marinate. Apparently there's a tier list that Zajev came out with based off of leaks from Fontaine. So this is gonna be juicy, right? Like, so we'll talk about it. Wednesday. Was it a meme tier list? Apparently not. Apparently it was like based off of like leaks. So it's a tier list based off of how good the character is gonna be in Fontaine meta. So yeah. What video? I don't know if it's a video, but I was sent a screenshot. Oh yeah, Saturday. Yeah, we'll talk about it on Saturday, which is soon. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 3 days. Come on, guys. Mwah. I'll see you guys then. Ooh. Till then, stay safe. Peace. Bye-bye.